And we are live. Tim.
Welcome to Boss Free Society interview with Adam Carroll. I am so excited that we were able to get Adam away from all the crazy stuff that he's doing, amazing stuff that he's doing. Adam is the founder of Four Legacies Mortgage, the first socially responsible education-based mortgage company in the Midwest. Adam is also the founder of National Financial Educators, a financial literacy seminar company that's based in West Des Moines. Between the two companies, Adam has helped educate more than 150,000 individuals in their pursuit of financial freedom using sometimes unconventional wisdom. Adam attributes his success in multiple areas of business to his ability to network effectively. Adam's network numbers in the thousands, and he stretches from one end of the country to the other. He's also a member of the National Speakers Association and easy for me to say, and American Mensa. Adam Carroll, I'm so happy to be here with you. And also, you know, the one thing that we haven't talked about on this little bio here is you're also in the process of creating a documentary called Broke, Busted, and Disgusted, all about college loan debt, student loan debt. Adam, welcome to the call. Talk to us, baby.
Thank you, Tim. What an amazing introduction. So yeah, I don't know if we start on that note or not, but out of all the things that I've done, I'm most proud of the fact that I'm a freshman filmmaker, and we are working on this really important project on student loan debt, which for the past 10 years or so I've been speaking on college campuses about just students getting in over their head when it comes to student loan debt and borrowing for random things on credit cards and whatnot. And out of all of that came the idea to do a book first, and then a friend of mine suggested we do a documentary all about the stories behind student loan debt in America. So we're working on that. We crowdfunded a campaign about 30 to 45 days ago, and amazingly, in 45 days, we raised $67,000 for the film.
Wow!
And
Congratulations.
Thank you, thank you. It's a fun project to be on, and we're hearing all sorts of great stories. And our goal is to make a gigantic wave with the film and start a national dialogue around why are student debts so high and why are students having to borrow so stinking much for college.
Yeah, and that's an important factor. And so why don't we just jump into you being an entrepreneur? And because really, when I think of you, Adam, I think of you as the entrepreneur. You have just so many great ideas, and you're working on so many different projects, and you're always got balls in the air, so to speak. But what's the great thing about being an entrepreneur? Why did you choose that path? And why should someone else choose that path, especially maybe a student that's in college wondering what path they should take?
Yeah. Well, it's an interesting question, Tim. Why am I an entrepreneur? I think one of my core values is freedom and flexibility. And at one point, what I thought it was money. I thought money was, the all-important thing. And I realized that it wasn't money that I was after. It was what money gives you, which is freedom and flexibility. And so I've been in jobs before. Unfortunately for me, I get along with most people. That's a fortunate thing for me. Unfortunately, the people that I don't get along with generally are called my boss. I've just never gotten along with my bosses. I don't know what the deal is. And it's probably because I thought I knew how to do their gig better than they did or something. I don't know. And so when I was about 28, I suppose, I had this gut feeling that I just needed to go be an entrepreneur and be on my own. And I would say I've functioned very well as a solopreneur for a long time. I've had teams behind me in the past where I had an entrepreneurial business, and I had at one point 10 employees in a mortgage company, and we had a very successful business. But in the end, it got back down to passion and freedom. And I realized that I was going into work every day, but I wasn't loving what I was doing. I was just kind of chained to the business. And I didn't want that. I wanted to create real freedom for myself and my family, and so that's what I've been after the last several years. And at this point, I'm nearing 40. I'm 30 several is what I like to tell people, and I am functionally unemployable.
Would you say you're psychologically unemployable as well?
That's what we call it. Yeah, Adam, that's what we call it. Is after you just kind of get that gut feeling and be like, you know what? I'm officially psychologically unemployable, so you're in good company.
Yeah, I think I'm with you guys on that. The thought of someone saying you have to be here at this time and you have to leave at this time, that kind of gives me the heebie-jeebies a little bit. So, yeah, I would say psychologically unemployable. That's a good term.
Yeah. So I have a question for you, Adam. In terms of, going from the mortgage company that you have, and I equate it to being an operational entrepreneur. You're
Yep.
basically just buying yourself a salary, and you're
Yep.
like locked into that whole, company system. And even though you don't necessarily work for someone, you're still locked down. So how did you transition out of that? And my understanding based on your bio, you're married with children, etc. So what would be if somebody out there is watching and is saying like, wow, I'm in that situation or I'm fearful of that situation, what's the other path that you can take?
So, great question, Patty. One of the things that I did, there's a good friend of ours by the name of Mitch Matthews who, have you interviewed Mitch yet, Tim?
I think next week we are actually.
Oh, good. He's got a great story and he's an amazing storyteller, great guy. He at one point has given out advice of having a jobby, which is a cross between a hobby and a job.
Yeah.
And when I started, when I decided that I wanted to be a speaker, and I just had this inkling that what I was supposed to do was teach full time, but I didn't see myself as a teacher in the traditional sense where I was in a classroom. It was more about being up in front of a group of people and educating them based on, information I've gleaned from this source and that source. And when I decided I wanted to do that, I tested the waters a little bit. And I got a number of independent speaking gigs while I had a job. And I slowly built up that business to the point where I could then know that I could count on speaking revenue full time to support me and my family. And so I would say I worked that jobby for a good 4 or 5 years before it was time for me to, finally set sail and burn the ships and all the analogies that people use. And so for me, I think it was kind of twofold. Number one, my wife is very security minded, and so she needed to know that there was a set amount of money coming in every single month. And for me, I just needed to know that there was enough business in the future that I could count on it, so long as I was going to hustle for it. And it came to a point where those crossroads converged, and I knew that I could let go of the mortgage business and focus on the speaking business. And at that point, the old adage is true: where attention goes, energy flows, and results show. When I put my energy and attention into speaking, all of a sudden, all these speaking opportunities just came out of nowhere. Where before, I was probably deeply involved in making sure mortgages were going through, which was not really something that fired me up so much. And so when I really finally decided I'm going after my passion and I know that I can make it work, the universe rewarded my bold choice, I guess.
That's awesome. So how big or how important do you think that mindset plays in entrepreneurship? Because going out into the career as a speaker, there's that pipeline of activity that you have, but how do you forecast it out and say, because your wife was so security minded, what type of mindset do you think was so critical for you to make it happen and to be consistent, to bring in the income that your household required?
Yeah. Mindset is huge. I mean, I think an entrepreneurial mindset, a mindset of being able to tolerate risk, is really the key for me, or was for me. And I think it's funny because our society, it almost raises people. K through 12, we're told, you have to get good grades so you can get a degree, graduate, get into a good college, get a degree, and then you get a safe, secure job. And it's all about that safety and security. And so we're raised with this mindset of, I got to make sure I have this thing, so that then I'll be safe and secure. And in reality, now I have a blog post about this. I think risk is the new safe. That people who decide to go out and risk, quote unquote, everything to go pursue this boss-free society, when they take that risk, they realize that the gigantic chasm that's been painted in people's minds is actually very small. You just have to figure out how to jump over it. Once you're on the other side, there's lots of business to be had. I mean, it's amazing to me the number of businesses that I could just jump into tomorrow and probably make 6 figures within a year has got to be half a dozen to 10 or more. If I just make the decision to do it and be better than all the other complacent fools that are out there doing those jobs, I think that's the mindset. It's like, I have a skill set. I know that I can go out and leverage my skill set, and people are going to find value in it. Now, how do I go sell that? And I think that's the key. I think that's the mindset you guys preach about on the podcast.
Yeah.
Right. Definitely. So, like, what would you say is, like, what's one, I don't want to say secret, but what's one trait that you have that you would, want to pass on to someone who wants to go down this path?
It's down the speaking path or down an entrepreneurial path?
Let's go with entrepreneur.
Okay. I would say there's probably 2 or 3. One for sure is get comfortable being uncomfortable. I mean, you have to get uncomfortable to get comfortable. So for people who aren't willing to do that, that's a mindset shift. For me, I remember we bought this house that we're in now, and this is our 20-year home. We'll be here until our kids graduate from high school, and my youngest is 6. And we just know that this is the house that we're going to be in. And when we moved in here, I had a very slim year of speaking. I was transitioning out of the mortgage business. Quite candidly, getting a loan was very difficult because of the way that I organize my finances, and I have a very good tax guy and things like that. And my wife and I were laying in bed one night, and we were literally a little panicked that we weren't going to be able to close on the loan. We were already in the house. We were renting back from the owner, and we were afraid that we weren't going to be able to close, and there was all this uncertainty. And I could tell my wife was just really uncomfortable with it, and I just had sort of this peace within me that I knew it was going to be fine. I knew we were going to do it. Where there's a will, there's a way kind of mentality. But for some people, that would have made them so squeamish they would have just gotten a job. Right. And for me, I just knew that I needed to double down and actually go out and make, as we say at one of my conferences, I had to go make awesome shit happen. So I did. I doubled down. I just kind of put on the throttle, and I really went out and hustled and had a great 3 to 6 months, and we ended up getting the house and got financed, and everything was fine. But there's that first thing is being uncomfortable and being okay with that.
That's
Number
awesome.
2 is really figuring out how much money do you need? How much money can you actually live on to go out and start your own deal? And I think some people say, well, I was making 80 grand a year, and so I need to make at least that starting out. And I say, in reality, how much do you really need to start out? Some people say, well, I was living on 80, but in reality, you only need 35 or 40 grand a year to live comfortably. Now, you may be, scraping by some months, but the goal is to learn to live on less, because at that point, you're taking a calculated risk, but you're not being risky. And so I would say the second thing that people need to understand is there's a difference between being risky and taking a calculated risk.
Mm-hmm.
And for me, I knew that a calculated risk for me was, I know that I can go out and get 15 or 20 or 40 or 80 speaking engagements a year, and to live comfortably, I need 15, right? I need 15 a year to live my normal lifestyle. So can I get 15? Without question. I could have bad breath, BO, and be ugly and still go get 15 engagements a year, I would hope. So that's sort of the key. And then the third thing for me was just a certainty about what it is I'm trying to create. And I think some people go into entrepreneurship with an ambiguity about what it is they're doing, and that ambiguity shows up in how they market, who they talk to, what they do on a day-to-day basis, versus those who are in business for a reason. And it goes back to Napoleon Hill's Think and Grow Rich, right? It's about definiteness of purpose. which boils down to one thing, and that's certainty. Why are you doing what you're doing? If you're certain about it, it will race towards you faster than you can imagine.
Now,
That is awesome. I've heard of that guy. I've heard of Napoleon Hill.
Yeah, he's kind of wrong.
yeah, kind
He's
of.
all right. He's pretty cool.
Now,
I'm
Adam,
sorry, too. Go ahead.
no, you talked about a conference that you have that I think that's really important for maybe the listeners to hear about. I know it's called Succeed Faster, and primarily it's for college students plus the recently graduated. But why don't you talk a little bit about what your program is and how someone can benefit from it?
Yeah, so the program really came about because I was speaking at leadership symposiums all across the country, and they were mainly for business fraternities and different organizations and affiliations and groups. And I realized that a lot of the people that come to those sessions, they're there to have fun and to maybe meet a few people, but really to drink, and it's really the after hours stuff that they were there for. And then there was this core group of people that they were the ones who came up after a seminar or a session, and they would ask really profound questions, or they would have all these really big ideas they wanted to share. They would network after the fact. And I realized that these are the people that have the it factor. And the it factor is that the French call it a je ne sais quoi, right? That thing that they do that they're going to be successful. And so we started inviting them to this event, which happened to be called Succeed Faster. And that came about because I was on a flight from Los Angeles to Chicago, and an elderly woman asked me what I do for a living. And when I owned the mortgage company, I used to say, well, I own a mortgage company and I'm a professional speaker. And when I got rid of the mortgage company, I didn't know what to say. So she asked me this question, and just off the top of my head, I said, I help students and young professionals succeed faster. And she said, oh, that's lovely. How do you do that? And so I immediately got off the plane, jumped on GoDaddy, and looked up succeedfaster.com, and lo and behold, it was available.
Nice.
So I bought it and held on to it for about 6 months, and then we turned it into this conference called Succeed Faster, which is, we're on our 5th event. We'll have about 100 people in attendance this year. It's July 25th through the 27th in Chicago, and we invite people who mash. They make awesome shit happen. And these are 20-somethings, really range from like 20 to 35-ish, right. And they have huge ideas. They have great networks. They maybe didn't learn what they really needed to in college, and we, in 2.5 days, give them mentors, mindset, and just an idea of what to do moving forward, how to change their lives the way they want them to be changed.
Wow, that's tremendous.
It is. It's quite fabulous, and I've been a part of it since Adam started it, and I've really met some awesome people. Like that's the thing that I love about these type of conferences is the quality that is attracted and the quality that comes through. And like Adam said it earlier, cream rises to the top, and that really is the case. So what would you say? So like some of these the young professionals that are coming through to your event, like, what are they looking for, and what do you give them? Quite honestly.
Well, I think they're looking for a number of things. Some of them want career advice, which we have a number of people that show up, our speakers and mentors that show up, and they're very good about helping them get their foot in the door at a certain company, or how to negotiate an extra 10 grand in starting salary, those kinds of things. Some of them are coming for just straight up direction and guidance on what they should do with their life, because it's kind of a funny thing. We graduate from high school, the assumption is, well, you go right on to college, and then at college you find yourself, right? Mm-hmm. And many of these kids, they come out finding themselves in tens of thousands of dollars in debt, but no clearer on what they want to do with their life. And so we give them guidance and direction on finding their passion and their purpose and understanding their why, and then giving them some ideas on what's possible. So we had one gal that she was in a corporate environment. She was in a cubicle farm, and she was miserable. And when we finally kind of said, there's a lot of options. What do you like to do? And she said, I love to organize, and I love to help people with email and sorting and sifting and planning. And I said, that sounds like a virtual assistant kind of role. And there were 3 of us at the event who said, I'm in need of a virtual assistant. Well, this woman has worked for us for the last year, doing virtual assistant work. She travels all over the country visiting friends and family, and she works about 35 hours a week, and she loves her life. Now, is she making fortunes? Not necessarily, but she believes that her health and her well-being and her mindset, are far more important than her making an extra $5,000 a year and having a 401k plan. So we try and share with people that there are many ways to find happiness and success. It's not the way that society has laid everything out. I mean, ultimately, what we do, guys, is we share with them what a boss-free society looks like, and some of them are like, it's like showing the caveman fire. Like, you can make money and not have a job. It's awesome.
So was that really Succeed Faster? Was that the springboard for the documentary you're working on?
Yes and no. It was, I would say it was fuel to the fire, Patty. One of the things that we heard was a lot of stories from students about, I really want to go do this, but I have $40,000 in student loans. Or, I mean, we have a couple of them that have $120,000 for a bachelor's degree in student loans. It's asinine. The fact that a school would even allow it, or our government allows it, is just completely ridiculous. So that was part of it. And then it was also just the number of students that I talked to that they had huge ideas, but it was probably 20 years away before they would ever execute on them because they had a $600 a month student loan payment. So what do? They go get a cubicle job, which pays them, $6,000 more a year, and that affords them the ability to make their student loan payment and, get that new Camry or whatever they had their eye on. And so the seminar, the conference, and everything I talk about is all about building a bigger life, not a bigger lifestyle. If you want to be in a boss-free society, it's about building the life that you want. It's not about building the lifestyle you want. The lifestyle follows, but you have to have the life you want before you can have the lifestyle you want. And I think people put those backwards. They go get the house and the car and all this stuff, and then they realize, well, shoot, now I'm stuck in this JOB, which stands for just over broke, and there's no way I can ever go start my own gig because my expenses are too high. And so it breaks my heart when I talk to people and say, well, God, you have a great idea. Why don't you start this business? Well, I would, but I just brought a 60-inch plasma TV at Best Buy, and the payments are, a little higher than I'd like. It's like, are you kidding me? This is crazy.
So what would be the vision? I mean, have you seen any other country or another academic system that would make more sense? And is that part of the documentary also, in terms of alternatives to school, or is it just creating awareness of what students can do to offset these crazy school loans?
Yeah, we really do have two messages. One of them we're covering wholeheartedly in the film, and that is that college is it's personal responsibility, first of all. It's a business decision in today's day and age, that it's not about, oh, you have this slip of paper and that means that you have the golden ticket to success.
Exactly.
That's not it at all. It's, that sheet of paper is nothing more than a toolkit that you just got, but if you don't know how to use the tools in the toolkit, you're screwed anyway. And then the other message, and this is probably going to come out in a different film, is the whole notion that we have to rethink higher ed. That right now, I can get everything I need to go get a job on this. I can learn on my phone. I don't need a slip of paper for that. And so I think companies will begin to change their tune about looking at GPAs and degrees and where the degree is from. Google has taken the first step. They've said, we don't care about GPA, we don't care about the degree. We will hire novices, teach them what they need to know, and they will make just as good a decision as an expert will. And I think more companies are going to follow suit, because what happens in Silicon Valley usually goes through the rest of the country at some point.
Yeah.
So I think we're 10 to 15 years away from that, but we are going to start a dialogue about it for sure with the film.
You know what, Adam, and just in time, so when your kids go to college, they'll have those options. Is this?
Yeah, right.
That was his diabolical plan.
This is all, yes, the grand plan.
My plans,
Yeah, I was gonna add to that because it is so true. You know what you said about the school loans, and a lot of college grads are saying, "Oh, I'll just get, I'll go to school and get my MBA then." Right? If I can't find a job right now, I'll just get an MBA.
Yeah,
And so what happens is that there's this misnomer that people think that having an MBA is a competitive advantage, and
right.
truthfully, in corporate America, it's just cost of entry at this point, and
Yeah,
it doesn't grant you the competitive advantage, especially. I came from the corporate environment. I remember 2009 was just such a brutal year for work, and I was out of a job. I had been laid off, and I had applied for this one job, and they had like 80 applicants, and I took a 25% pay cut, and it's just so crazy because you really are at the mercy of what the employers are willing to pay you. It's whatever the market will bear is what you make, right?
totally,
So it didn't matter that there was a stack full of MBAs. It really lessens it. It almost commoditizes it, and
totally.
it's a shame. And I think that's really switched over from say 15 years ago where it meant something. So
Yeah,
I don't want to marginalize anybody that has one because I do, but I'm just saying that that's not the ticket out. I like the way you said that. They
yeah,
think it's the golden ticket, and it definitely is not. I think it's that whole, industrial age thing is just, it's becoming so obsolete. And the fact that when you held your smartphone, you say, you know what, everything I need is on here. When you can get a virtual assistant with an MBA from the Philippines at $500 a month, that's concerning. So
totally.
what do you do to reinvent this? Because the way that the system is now that was modeled from back then is no longer, it's becoming irrelevant.
Yep.
So I'm really excited about your documentary.
Absolutely.
Cool. It's awesome. And on that note, I'm turning the MBA around, and I'm teaching my kids this. So my kids will actually have an MBA before they ever graduate from high school or get their bachelor's.
I want to hear this.
It's a massive bank account.
You know what? I'm totally stealing that for my
That's
kids.
awesome.
Yeah, I'm gonna tell my son. I'm gonna tell him. I'm stealing it. I'm shamelessly stealing that Adam Carroll.
Do it. So I'm going to teach them that if you have a massive bank account, an MBA, you can go do whatever you want anyway.
Yes.
So I was talking to some financial planner friends of mine, and we were saying that, most people graduate from college and they go, where should I invest my money? What should I put it in? And there's, a Roth IRA or 401k or buy real estate or gold or silver. We said, it's crazy. What you need to do is get really good at saving $10,000 to $20,000. If you put away 10 or 20 grand, sky's the limit. Do whatever you want. Go buy real estate. Go start a business. Go,
Yes.
backpack for a year. It's not about the job. It's not about your salary. It's about how well do you accumulate capital and then use that capital to create the life you want.
Yes.
We're not teaching that. We're not teaching that at all. We're teaching people, well, you got to get a safe, secure job. You got to have health benefits, and you got to have a 401k. And those things, in the end, how many
are clearly not working because people retire
Exactly.
broke.
Yeah.
right?
Now, one of the great skills that you have that you teach, and that I think every entrepreneur needs to have in their toolbox, as you said earlier, is networking. Can you explain just a little bit about your philosophy on networking and how you can use networking to kind of create bigger things for yourself?
Yeah. So when I started the mortgage company, I didn't know that I was doing this necessarily, but then I kind of figured out, hey, this is a cool framework for what I'm doing. I believe that we all have networking power, and power is an acronym, and it stands for promoting opportunities while establishing relationships. And that means when I go out and I meet someone for the first time, I'm going to ask them a slew of questions, most notably questions like, what are you really passionate about? And what do you want to do with your life? And what have you tried to do but not been able to do that I can help you accomplish? And when I started asking those questions about what do you really, what really fires you up, I would get these really passionate answers. And then when I'd help them actually accomplish that, they would do anything for me. They would bend over backwards for me, even if I never asked for it. And so the power, as I started building it up with people, was all about just how can I help you and what can I do for you and how can I connect you with the right people to get you where you want to go. The power begins to shift and the acronym changes, and the acronym becomes profiting on what everyone refers. That's what power stands for.
You're
And
so smart.
thank you. You only have power if you first leverage power. You know, you have to give before you can get. It's like
Yeah,
it's the law of reciprocity in action, and most people don't
exactly.
realize that's how to do it. And it's worked for me, and I kind of do it sometimes on the sly, and sometimes I'm real overt about it. But I've just found that if I open up my Rolodex to the right people, business will come flooding back to me without me even trying.
Yeah, that's so great. That
That's huge.
last minute and a half that explaining that was worth this entire. It was so good because that's so true. It's the evolution of where you start and where it comes full circle to.
Totally.
I'm stealing that too. Adam, I'm stealing it all.
See, Adam is someone that you can steal quite often. You know.
Because I'm
Yeah.
bald. All gurus are bald. Did you know that?
Oh my God, am I gonna lose my hair? Because I want to be a guru eventually.
Totally. Totally. If you
Does
want,
this apply to women too?
if you want to join the club, I don't know. It's up to you.
I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna go
See, me
get
and
in there.
Stephen Covey, we're like this, you know.
Yeah, exactly. What I do have a question though, because I brought it up to Tim when I was reading your bio about hypnotherapy. You just
Yeah.
have to fill us in a little bit about how you got into hypnotherapy, and how you've seen it or perhaps apply it to business. I mean, is
Yeah.
this like NLP or
Well, it started
traditional?
out as NLP. That's what I got really interested in. My dad got me into it, and
Oh, if I may, NLP guys is neuro-linguistic programming, just so in case anybody watching it wants to know.
there you go. It's how our words affect what our mind does, right?
Yes.
Uh, Also called neuro-associative conditioning by Tony
Tony
Robbins.
Robbins.
Yes.
I was into NLP. I met a guy actually at a job, one of the jobs I had early on, and he was an NLP. He was a certified master NLP practitioner, and also a hypnotist. And he was telling me, "Oh man, you can make great money as a stage hypnotist." And I get paid 1,500 to 2 grand a pop. And at the time, that was the king's ransom. I thought that would solve all my problems. And so I went and got certified in Los Angeles. It was like a week-long program, cost $500 or $600, and I got certified. And then I came back, and ultimately the class is this: they teach you the psychology of it, and then they say, "Okay, now go ahead and go practice on your family and friends." So my wife has been hypnotized more times than she'd care to admit to. But I started using it more for self-hypnosis than anything. I would get on a plane and I would just knock myself out for 2 hours. And I started creating more recall. And I was hypnotizing myself to remember names and dates and facts and figures, quotes. And I don't use it all that much today. Although I did just today hypnotize a gal for the second time. She was trying to quit smoking, and this is a friend of mine that amazingly enough, it took the first time. So she's a non-smoker, and I planted a hypnotic suggestion that whenever she was around cigarette smoke, she wouldn't be able to inhale. She would
Oh,
literally
wow.
all the time breathing and like kind of have some palpitations. And she said a friend of hers lit up in her car, and she had to pull over, and she was like telling this guy to quit smoking because she couldn't breathe.
That is so cool. So
Yeah.
how about have you ever done any hypnosis for, say, entrepreneurs? I mean, for fear, right? So fear isn't real. Have you ever helped somebody just to get their mindset right?
Yeah, and ultimately, you know what that is like replacing a limiting belief with an empowering belief.
Yes.
And just taking that fear of the phone as an example, and that's this little bitty thing that somebody has, but they make it look this big in their mind, and we take it and I just replace that with something else, like this is a long lost friend that you're calling, and you have to reintroduce yourself to them. And a lot of times for people, just replacing one negative limiting belief with an empowering belief changes everything for them.
I was telling Patty prior to you jumping on the call that you had done some work with me as far as, because one of the things that you said in one of your programs was that when you put them under, so to speak, it's the benefit of like 6 or 7 hours of sleep. And I
Yeah.
was telling her that I had to drive through the night, and I was stopping off in Des Moines, and then you helped me with, because I had a conference going that week and blah blah blah. But why don't you just explain, just really quickly, the power of when you're under, what that does, the benefit of you, like for your energy and endurance and whatnot.
Yeah, it's when you're in there's 4 brainwave levels. There's beta, alpha, theta, and delta. Beta is an active, walking, talking brainwave. Alpha is entry-level hypnosis. Theta is deep hypnosis, and delta is REM sleep. And most people only hit REM sleep once or twice a night. They usually stay in theta for most of the evening. And theta is very restful. When you're in theta, for any length of time, you're getting a fairly prolonged restorative sleep cycle. So for every 45 to 60 minutes under hypnosis, it's like getting a 4.5 to 6 hour nap. And because I'm taking you to a level where most people don't get. Their brain activity doesn't slow down to that low, slow sine wave. And that's what it's all about, is just, it's funny. If you're a meditation person, particularly those who meditate often, that's all you're doing is slowing down your mental process to the point where you're creating calm waters, right? Versus the rough, choppy sea that most people live in during the day. Sure. And under hypnosis, you go to that still water right away, and then you just stay there consistently. And it's an amazing, restful experience.
So, we're coming up now. I think we're past 30 minutes. So what would, if we didn't ask you something, what would you have liked us to ask? And then what would you like to tell us about you that would like to educate our listeners about who you are and what you're doing?
Well, what do I want to tell? So I was joking about the guru thing. I'm no guru. I'm a seeker and I'm a giver. I seek information and I give information, and I think that's what the best teachers do. And so I'm a lifelong learner. I constantly read. I constantly listen to seminars in the car, and I attend seminars on a regular basis just for personal development. One of the things I'm really passionate about is helping people find their voice. And so there's a lot of folks that come to me and ask, how do I become a speaker? Because I think I've built a very stable, successful speaking business that affords me a really wonderful life and a great lifestyle. And so I've decided that one of the things I'm going to do twice a year is hold a speaker launch pad. And that's it's an event. It's a 2-day event where people who want to find their voice and go out and speak to the public and make money doing it, I'm going to teach them how I did it, and teach them how to get referrals, how to just wow people from the stage, and how to close more deals, and make a ton of money on the side in books and audio CDs and things like that. And so the first speaker launch pad is happening in August, the 23rd and 24th, I believe it is. It's a weekend. It will be in the rockin' metropolis of Des Moines, Iowa. So just excited about that. And if anyone's interested, you can hit me up at adam@adamspeaks.com. I'm happy to send you some details about it. And this is the first one, so there's only 15 people that are going to be accepted into this program.
That's great.
And afterwards, I'm going to start launching, bigger sessions. I've already bought Speaker Launchpad and thespeakerlaunchpad.com, so it will be out there eventually. But for future replays,
that's great.
We're gonna be thinking forward.
Yeah. And then how does somebody find out about your documentary?
So you can go to BBD, that's Broke, Busted, Disgusted, BBDthefilm.com, or they can go to brokebustedandisgusted.com.
Great. Great.
Yeah,
so I'll go ahead and put that in the notes, you guys, in YouTube, in the show notes. And Adam, thank you so much. This is such a great call. We learned about power. We learned about hypnotherapy, freedom and flexibility, and then I'm going to use this MBA term, massive bank account.
Massive bank account. The MBA. The new MBA.
Yes, that's the new MBA. I love it. I love it. So thank you so much. It's such a pleasure to meet you and to hear about what you're passionate about, what moves you. Very, very inspiring.
Cool. Thanks, Patty. I appreciate it. Tim, as always, thanks, my friend.
Oh, thank you very much. We appreciate your time, Adam.
Pleasure.
All right, guys. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.